You're listening to the Mastering Money in Midlife podcast with Debbie Sasson, episode 54.
Welcome to Mastering Money in Midlife, a podcast for midlife women in business to overcome financial anxiety and make more money without burning out or sacrificing their families. Join certified life and money coach Debbie Sasson as she shares practical business strategies and mindset shifts that help you dissolve the money blocks that keep you stuck in a cycle of under-earning and under-saving, sabotage the growth of your business, and prevent you from building the wealth that you desire.
Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the podcast. I have a fabulous interview for you today with my client, Davii Mandel. Davii is a virtual assistant, and she also runs an agency for virtual assistants called Office Girlz. That's girls with a Z at the end. We are going to talk about supporting you as the business owner and the types of work that you can hire out, outsource to virtual assistants so that you can stay in your zone of genius. So many times business owners choke their growth and suffocate their profits because they hold on to all the tasks in their business and they don't take the time out to outsource to people who are also uniquely wired to do the office work. And Davii and I have a fabulous interview for you. But before we tune into the interview, I want to let you know that if you are listening to this podcast on November 22nd, which is the day that the podcast airs, today is the last day to enroll in my mastermind, Wired for Wealth. Wired for Wealth is a 9-month program for business owners. And we have a virtual live event coming up on Monday, November 28th. We're going to spend 4 hours together, really getting you to think about yourself as a CEO. So many times we business owners think of ourselves as the thing we do. Like I'm a coach and I coach people. Davii is a virtual assistant and she helps people with the back office tasks in their business. A graphic artist is a designer. A copywriter is a writer. But whatever you do in your business, you are a business owner first. And it's important to think strategically for long-term business growth. That's your business growth in 2023, 2024, 2025, and beyond. So the live event, it's going to be virtual on Zoom, is going to start by getting you to rewire your brain and your mindset to think of yourself as a CEO and to plan the next year accordingly. I love to help my clients plan quarterly so we can start like setting some seeds down in December. And hey, December is a great time for buyers. There's a lot of consumer buying going on and business to business buying is also going on in the last month of the year. And so if we meet together on November 28th, you can also put new plans and strategies in place to reach your clients and customers during the last month of 2022. And then you hit the ground running in 2023 with your plan. You know exactly what you're going to focus on in the first quarter of the year, what you're going to focus on in the second and the third and the fourth for your long-term business growth. Sometimes you're going to be putting systems in place, payment processes. You're going to focus on your marketing, on your copywriting, or on your sales techniques. We're going to do that all in the mastermind. And I have a process that is laid out that's going to take you from where you are today to quantum leaps over the course of the next year. And of course, we're going to work on your money mindset and your family of origin story about money, that it might be bad or evil or greedy or salesy or sleazy, whatever comes up for you when it comes to money. The triggers that we have in our body, a lot of times we feel it in our chest or in our gut, and also the thoughts we have in our brain that are looping on autoplay. We're going to deal with it all. So if you have been thinking about Wired for Wealth, press pause, go to my website, debbiesasson.com/wired-for-wealth, and sign up for a consultation. You've got all the details on the page, and there's a sign-up link. If you sign up by today, November 22nd, even if there's no room on my calendar for today, but it's later in the week, there's also room to invite you into Wired for Wealth And I look forward to seeing you in the group and at our virtual live event on Monday, November 28th. All right, that's what I got for you for an introduction. And now let's meet Davii Mandel. I have an exciting guest for you to hear today. I am with my client, Davii Mandel. Davii is a wife, a mom, and a grandmother. I love that. We share that in common, that we have big families and lots of grandchildren, which is beautiful. And we both live in Israel. Davii moved to Israel a year and a half ago, and she came during COVID. When she arrived in Israel, she started her business as a virtual assistant. Now she is not only providing services as a virtual assistant, but she's actually running a virtual assistant agency. And for my listeners who don't know what a virtual assistant is, Davii's going to explain to us exactly what that is so that you can hear all of her wisdom. Today, Davii has a six-figure business doing what she loves and providing remote work for other immigrants to Israel. Good morning, Davii, and welcome to the podcast.
Good morning.
So tell us a little bit about how you started your business.
So my business started, like many others do, out of necessity. I was a caterer and a high-end event planner for over 20 years, and COVID just put a hard brake on that. Overnight, we stopped. We were out of business. And in addition, in the background of that was that we were planning to make Aliyah, and my husband and I were talking about what kind of work I could do in Israel and ideally make an American income. We had started to talk about the idea of me doing something like this, behind the scenes office work remotely. But, once COVID came, we just had to get into gear right away. So I had a couple of clients by word of mouth. One was actually my son for his business, and then a friend. And it started from there, and they recommended me to other people, and I was able to start growing it as an actual business.
And what did your previous experience in catering teach you about office work that you were able to bring into the work that you do now?
So I worked as a partner with my daughter, my married daughter, and she was always the design person, basically design and that type of planning. And I always took care of the office work. So it's funny, it's kind of a switch from today's days where it's the younger people who are good at computers, but I'm actually the one that's more talented at that type of thing, at the tech stuff. So I did the bookkeeping, I typed the menus, I spoke to the customers, I did everything that had to do with admin in the catering and the event planning business. I've always been good at that type of work. I'm very detail oriented. I enjoy it. I get a tremendous amount of satisfaction from just having things run smoothly and the way they're supposed to. And I'm always thinking of a better way to do it. So yeah, I used those skills in catering and honed them. And I was all set to do something like this as a business.
I want to just share my excitement that you're working with your family. Like first you were working with your daughter in catering, and now you're providing VA services to your son. Like tell my listeners how many kids you have.
I have 11 kids.
As we say in Hebrew, bli ein hara, right?
That's right.
Against the evil eye is the translation. So I have a small family. I only have 8 children, right?
Oh.
So but I love that we have that in common. We have big families, and there is something about families when you have a connection that we all learn, how to focus on our gifts, the things that we bring to the world, we call in business, your unique selling proposition, which you knew straight away was always your organizational skills and having things in order, and even using your creativity, because I think we're all born with creativity. But your creativity is how to make things more efficient, how to make the office work run more smoothly.
Yes.
So for my listeners who don't understand yet what a virtual assistant can bring to the business, because so many of us grew up in a model where there is somebody in the office. There's a secretary and a personal assistant who could be in the office. What are the benefits of having an assistant who works remotely and isn't sitting next to you to like take your, stenography and take your notes like that at meetings.
So it's funny, Debbie, I didn't even know that there was such a thing as a virtual assistant business. I just thought I had come up with a new idea that hey, you don't need me to be there. I can do all these things from afar exactly the same way as I would do it in the office. Then I found out, oh, this has been around for a couple of years. It just became more popular and more well-known during COVID. While there are some drawbacks and there are things that don't work with having a virtual assistant, I think the benefits really outweigh the drawbacks. So having somebody in the office means you've got them right there. You've got their attention. They're there to work for you. And, you may not have enough work to keep somebody busy 20 hours a week or 40 hours a week, but you've got their body, their presence there. And whenever you need it, you have it. On the other hand, you're paying sometimes many hours for no work. I've worked in many offices, and this is a very common theme that there's not always work to do. Okay. So you're paying for all those hours. You're paying to have that body sit and warm the chair. With a virtual assistant, they are just logging in the hours that they work for you. So they may have multiple clients, but they will log out of that client and log into your work, meaning using a timer system, and you're just paying for the amount of hours that you actually need. Number two, you're not paying necessarily for office space, and many businesses don't need office space. I have clients who just work from their home, or they don't need an office at all. They jump in their car and they're a plumber and they go to do a job. So they don't need to rent office space to have a secretary sitting there. Mm-hmm. So that's a big savings and a big, overhead savings. Also, they don't have to provide any equipment. You don't have to take taxes. You don't have to pay for insurances, anything like that. So it's so hassle-free in so many ways that, again, I think the benefits really outweigh any drawbacks of not having a person in the office.
When I thought about bringing you on for an interview to let my listeners know how they could bring a virtual assistant into their business, one of the first thoughts that I had is now there is a global recession. We're in the middle of it, the beginning stages. We'll know when we get out of it exactly what stage we're in November 2022. And I noticed in the last couple of weeks that some large companies like Facebook, like Stripe, like other companies are having massive layoffs. And when the economy goes into a recession, many business owners pull back on their businesses, and they understandably are thinking about where they can cut costs. And I know that you and I have discussed before how many small business owners are overwhelmed. When they're overwhelmed, there's too much work to do. They're trying to do the thing that they do well. Like, let's talk about a plumber. That was one example that you brought up. When a plumber is worried that maybe people won't be doing renovations on their home, they won't be replacing pipes. So the plumber might think, I'm just going to do the office work by myself. And that's not the zone of genius that the plumber works in, right? They know how to do the pipes, and that's also a specialization. But, this is a time where people might be thinking, I need to save costs in my business. So I'm not going to have an assistant do the work. I'm going to do my bookkeeping and my invoicing. I'm going to do my social media all by myself. So I want you to just share with us really how your business as a virtual assistant working remotely helps people, and why people, might want to think twice about actually bringing somebody into their business, even when we're in a recession.
So it's very interesting. After having done this for going on to 3 years now, one thing that I see very clearly is how having a VA can give a business owner so much freedom in reality, because freedom of time to be able to actually do more, but also emotionally, because they're able to concentrate on building their business into the business that they dreamed of when they started it. Having someone to delegate those tasks that they are not talented at, that they maybe don't even have any knowledge about, or somebody who just has so much more experience and is more organized than they are, being able to delegate that frees up their mind to create the business that they are trying to create. And I actually onboarded a new customer 3 months ago who told me the other day, he and I and one of my other assistants participated in a Zoom interview for him to hire somebody to do a specific part of his business that we don't do. And he was so relieved that we were there with him because he admitted to me that he has ADHD, which many of my clients seem to have. And he said he has a very hard time just concentrating on one task and getting it done from beginning to end. But because we helped him and we were there with him, just our presence, we didn't do anything, it helped him concentrate and get the interview done. And he realized that he's getting much more done just knowing that he has a team behind him. So this is a benefit to a business owner, almost even when we're not doing anything, just being there on his team for a very reasonable price can help the business owner get to where they want to be. As far as a recession, we all have ups and downs in our businesses. The nice thing about a business like ours is we have multiple packages to choose from. And if somebody sees that their business is kind of slower now, they can always downgrade to a lower package without completely giving up that office help that they need.
I actually think that if we're in a recession, now is the perfect time to onboard a VA for a couple of reasons. It could be that the business is experiencing a slowdown in clients, in income, which could also mean that the business has a little bit more time. And then the business owner might think, oh, I have more time on my hands. Now I'm going to do the office work myself. That's not, again, my gift to the world, my zone of genius. And when you have a slowdown in your activity, it gives you the space to onboard the VA. It also, and I think you just pointed this out, is if your client has ADHD, can't concentrate, can't focus on doing the office work that they're not, uniquely wired to do, then being able to give it over to somebody else means that you freed up all of this space in your head to think more creatively about your business. Because there is, maybe a global recession, a slowdown in economic activity. So you want to actually put more of your focus time into how you can serve your clients better. But if you're busy with the office work, that's just taking up valuable time in your calendar. It's taking up valuable thinking space in your mind. And I like to say, like, if we're in the winter, right, these are the times that you should be planting the seeds, or in the fall, whatever. But like, now's a great time to plant the seeds in your business, and they're going to sprout in the spring. I don't know if the spring will be 2023 or 2024, but let's get the foundation set now so that your business can grow and thrive and produce beautiful fruit when economic activity picks up. And if your business is not experiencing a slowdown in activity, this is still a great time for you to bring an assistant into your business, because that will also I love the word that you use, relieved, right? Your client was so relieved to have you on his team. And if you have someone there with you, guiding, holding your hand through the tasks that you don't want to do, you have that brain space. So let's just talk about your clients who are in this place where they want to bring a VA into their business. How do they do that?
It's very interesting. I have a very interesting range of clients. I have the ones who have been in business for years. They're naturally organized. They're keeping their business going. They've just gotten to the point where they need to outsource some of the tasks that they don't know how to do, or they just don't have the time. They are my easy clients. They're clear about their instructions. I have one client who's amazing. She has written up pages and pages and pages of standard operating procedure, which she just gives us, and she gives us step by step. This is how it needs to be done. And it's fantastic. But then I have many clients who are a little bit all over the place. They have great ideas. They have a wonderful business model, but they don't have the experience to make sure that all aspects of their business are running correctly. So they know how to do the specific business, and that's it. But that doesn't include all of the admin that goes with a business. And these clients need a lot of help. And what I love is that myself and my assistants, all of us have either been in business for ourselves at one point or another, or have worked closely with other businesses. So we can help our clients especially people who are, their business is young, we can help them get organized. We can say, you know what, you kind of neglected to get liability insurance. It's really important. You need to do that. I'll research it for you and I'll get you signed up for something. Or we need to make sure that we're putting money aside in a tax account. Please open a savings account. We're going to put money aside so we can pay your quarterly taxes.
I like that.
And yeah, so we really, really do try to help not only just do what they tell us to do, but actually give them suggestions and advice on running the business more correctly. But as far as onboarding a new client, again, it depends on the type of business. They're all different. One of the most basic things is logins. We need to discuss what programs and websites your business uses, and we need logins to all of those sites. One thing that I find is small business owners are so accustomed to doing everything themselves. And I would say 90% of my businesses are just one person in the business, that they have a really hard time delegating. And sometimes they'll choose a package and then they kind of just don't give us any work to do. So what I've learned over the time is to immediately from the beginning, set up a recurring Zoom meeting at least once a week. And this way, once you're talking to the person face to face, they'll come up with ideas of things that they need you to do. But when you're not like seeing each other constantly, they're just used to doing it themselves and they continue doing it themselves. So we find that this helps our clients slowly get used to delegating tasks, which is really good for them because this is part of being a business owner. You need to delegate.
I think both of us probably know how to delegate because we have a lot of children. So we can say, like, you fold the laundry, you do the dishes, you sweep the floor. Like, we're probably amazing delegators. We just,
That's true.
I think the one thing as a mom is I just assume that my children know how to do things like me. And so even as a business owner, I can assume that my, virtual assistant knows how to do things like me, but that's where we have to take responsibility and slow ourselves down and assume that nobody knows how to fold the laundry like me unless I tell them how to do it.
And take the time to train. Yes, I'm learning that now as my business grows and I'm bringing on new VAs. I want them to just immediately know how to do it the way I did it up till now, and they don't necessarily. Some are quicker than others to learn, and I have to spend the time training.
Now you have to learn how to be that business owner for yourself, like the business owners who are hiring you, right? You have to learn now to have your own standard operating procedures in place, how to onboard your own VAs for your business and how to train your people, and how to appreciate that their brains are also going to work differently from yours.
Exactly.
You probably have great training as a mom of a large family, knowing that each of your children has a different operating system in their mind. And so probably gives you a lot of flexibility with your own employees. So you and I have been working together for about 6 months. Where was your business when we started working together? And what's changed over the last 6 months?
That's a great question. So my business started in March of 2020. And until this past June of 2022, it was pretty steady. Here and there, a client moved on or I moved on from a client and I would take on one more or whatever. I had one assistant working with me plus a bookkeeper who does the QuickBooks work for any of my clients who need bookkeeping. And that was fine. And it was working fine. And I remember having a free consultation with you and saying, I just can't decide if I want to grow. Do you remember that?
I do. Yep.
And you said, that's the decision that you need to make. Do you want to grow or do you just want to continue in the way you're going? And I'm not even sure now what made me finally made that decision. But I think what it was I had one of my clients moved on. And his business was actually growing to the point where he needed an in-house secretary and bookkeeper. And I realized, wow, like by losing one client, it tips everything. My income has to adjust to a lower amount. I have to cut back on hours for my assistant, and all of a sudden I realized, wait, this is too on the edge. This is on the edge of the cliff and 1 foot off. it hit me that I needed to make that decision that I'm going to grow. And I knew this is going to be hard. It's going to be hard work. And it's going to, all of a sudden, I'm going to be if it does start growing, I'm going to be overwhelmed. And I expected it. And I just made the decision that I was going to do it. And you came out with your group coaching promotion. And I just decided, okay, I'm just going to try this. I'm going to do it. And from then, we started in late June, and now it is November. So it's about 5 months later, and the change has been dramatic. We grew from about 8 clients, and we have around 20 now.
Wow.
And I have 6 women working part-time for me as contractors. They're all handling multiple clients, and it's incredible. It's incredible.
So you have gone from being a solopreneur to running an agency. Like, that's huge.
In 5 months.
In 5 months. Wow. That is like beautiful growth. What sort of limiting beliefs and money blocks did you have to overcome in order to do that?
So I've been into, positive thinking and all these type of things for years. And it's been good. It changed my life very, very much for the positive, but money was always just not quite getting to where I wanted it to be. There was always a stopping point that I couldn't identify. And your Wired for Wealth program really helped me tap into those subconscious money blocks, the negative money messages that we're always telling ourselves that we're not even aware that we're telling ourselves. I was able to finally face those things, decode them, break them down, and identify them. And that made such a big shift. There was just this sudden shift in everything.
I really want to shout you out because when we had our first meeting back in June, you jumped in like 2 feet, your whole body, head first, like everything, like you just decided, like, and some people can be more slow, like they want to dip their toe into the water, into the pool and see if the water is going to be cold. And some people jump and start swimming. And that's what you've done. And by the way, both of them are fine. The water is going to be cold either way. I'm kind of also they just like jump in and do it and just start swimming and you're going to figure it out. But people are wired differently. And the fact that you've gone from like, what do you say, 8 clients to 20 clients in 5 months? That's like mind blowing.
That's mind blowing. And having 6 people working for me is also very mind blowing. I'm still getting used to that.
Yeah, you're a CEO. And we've talked about how you're now implementing the Profit First method. And I spoke about this a few weeks ago on the podcast, How to Plan for Profit First. And that's a lot of your growth with money and managing money. What's going on for you there?
I told you at one point that I don't want to look at my expenses. And you said, why? And I said, because I'm afraid that you or myself, that I'm going to have to tell myself that I'm spending too much or I need to cut back. And I really feel like I'm not, but I don't want to really look at it and have to face the music. And I really had a block there. And I knew it was a block. And I was ashamed of myself because I am advising business owners in this very genre. You need to look at your expenses. You need to look at your income. You need to get it all figured out. I'm going to assign you a bookkeeper. She's going to help you do this. And yet I'm not doing it. Mm-hmm. I only started using a bookkeeper for my business a few months ago. I finally said, this is ridiculous. I don't know my numbers. I don't know my profit and loss. I have to do this. But that was a big, big block. So when you told me about Profit First, and I actually went to YouTube first and watched a 15-minute summary of the entire book, and I said, wow, this is unbelievable. Turns the entire bookkeeping model for a business on its head. And it makes so much sense. Mm-hmm. I was immediately hooked. I bought the book. I've been listening to it on Audible. Yesterday, I spent hours just setting up new bank accounts, getting everything organized, letting my bookkeeper know that she is now going to have 6 bank accounts to look at instead of 2.
Wow. Okay.
She will not thank me for, I'm sure. And just moving money around and getting it all organized. And then I did his chart where you actually have to look at the real numbers and see what your percentages are and how everything works. And I'm telling you, Debbie, I am an emotional eater. And if I wasn't doing intermittent fasting, I would have been all over the cookies and the cakes because I was so stressed from doing those numbers. But afterwards, I felt so relieved, even though they weren't where I wanted them to be. And he keeps saying that in the book. You will have negative numbers. You will have numbers that are not where they should be. That's fine. This is where we're starting. But it was such a relief to see everything in black and white and to know. But it was only a relief after I calmed down and de-stressed a little bit.
And that's what it is. It's like once you get the diagnosis, right now you know your numbers, now you know where you are. Now you can work with the cure. You know what the cure is. And in his book, Profit First, Mike Michalowicz, the author, gives us target numbers, right? When you have a certain level of income, what you should be putting aside for profits, the percentage for profits, the percentage for expenses. Expenses are last, owner's compensation, right? And taxes. Those are just targets. And you start where you are, and the targets are what you put into your GPS, into your navigator, and you're just aiming at those targets. And it could be that your business is going to have a different percentage of profits or a different percentage of owner's compensation. But at least now we know where we're starting and just tweak, and we're going to get there one step at a time. But I love the fact that, first of all, you just were very open and said, yeah, I wasn't doing it and I felt ashamed. And so many business owners are in that exact same place. So we're just going to just say, like, you don't need to feel like that. It's just part of where we are and what we do and how we grow. And just like you got thrown into your business by COVID, it wasn't something that you planned. You started it, you have gifts. And a lot of people do that. They jump in. They're like, yeah, I could do this. And people want to pay me for it. And isn't that wonderful? And the money's coming in. And then all of a sudden you can't pay for your groceries because somehow the money disappears. So many of my clients.
Why? It's so frustrating. And if I would have stayed with the typical accounting model for business, which is income minus expenses equals profit, and if I had actually looked at those numbers with that model, I would have just despaired. Like, what am I doing? I'm bringing in 6 figures a year. I have people working for me. I figured out how much I can afford to pay them, but this doesn't make sense. This model isn't profitable. And because it was all at the same time that I finally made the decision that I'm going to look at my numbers, and then you, right at the same time, told me about Profit First, now I'm able to have hope and know that my business is on the right track, and I'm very close to profit. I'm very close to being a profitable business.
Thank you for sharing that. And also not making that a problem is that your business is not yet profitable. First of all, you've been in the business for 2.5 years. And if we were thinking about a brick and mortar business, not a remote business, a brick and mortar business starts in the minus. They start in debt, right? You have to rent a place or buy a place. You have to get the water turned on, the electricity turned on. You have to buy inventory. You have to hire people. Before you even sell, let's say you're a little, supermarket, before you sell 1 bag of milk or a loaf of bread or a dozen eggs, your business is not profitable. And it will take time before you generate a profit. We never want to make that a problem. A business might take 3 or even 5 years to generate a profit. That doesn't mean that a business owner should not be paying herself. The business can be in minus while the business owner is getting paid a salary. And I think that that's where the Profit First model starts turning bookkeeping on its head, because you make sure that you're setting aside money for the salary, for the owner's compensation of the person who's running a business. Otherwise, you're just like working hours and hours a day and banging your head against the wall, wondering why nothing's working. And then you're just going to go and close down your business.
And something else that he said that I didn't understand before is that in the early stages, your business pays 50% to the owner. But in later stages, as your business earns more money, the profit margin goes up and the salary of the owner goes down, because you will actually take that profit instead of a high salary. I was flabbergasted. That was amazing. What an amazing idea.
And I think that's something that you need to be in touch with your accountant, because are you getting paid a salary or are you taking the profit as dividends in your business? Right now, we might be getting a little bit technical, but you always want to be in touch with your accountant every step of the way, whether you're meeting with your accountant quarterly or monthly or, once or twice a year. But you want to make sure that you are not overpaying on taxes because you're either taking quote unquote, too much as salary or too much as dividends. You want to make sure that you're on top of your numbers. You can only be on top of your numbers when you are looking at your numbers.
Right.
So, folks, if you're not looking at your numbers, here is your invitation to look at your numbers. And I will also say, because I love talking about this, is that if your business is not profitable, and again, we're not making that a problem, it is okay, I believe, to borrow money. Right? Borrowing money is just the way we buy money from our future self. And that way, just like a brick and mortar business will borrow money to rent the place and get the inventory and hire the people, also a virtual business can borrow money so that you have cash in your account and you can make sure that you continue to pay your salary over time. And then you'll be able to pay back your business loan over 5 years or 7 years, whatever the time frame is that's right for you. But you don't want to be working and chasing your tail all the time, not earning a salary and wondering why your business isn't working. It's really important that you feel like you're getting compensated for the work that you do, whether it's $100 a month or $500 a month, whatever you can afford and squeak out in the beginning stages of your business. It's so important that you have that just joy of receiving money from your business. Right? Your brain wants to see, we want to be rewarded. We're just like, we're just like fancy animals as humans. We want that treat. We want that reward. So it's really, really important that you don't starve yourself and choke your business by reinvesting everything in your business. You have to have money coming into your personal account.
100%. 100%.
What are your business owners? How do they react when you start working on their books and sharing with them what's going on in their business?
I'm just still getting the profit first technicalities down pat. And I have a couple of clients in mind that I do want to share the idea with because I think it will be very, very beneficial for them. I do have a client specifically who always tells me, like, I'm bringing in hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of business and there's nothing in the bank account. My bank account is down to $4,000 and I don't understand why. And with him, it's a real mindset shift because he tends to think people are taking advantage of him. People are, somehow not stealing exactly, but somehow getting the money from him. And he doesn't know where it's going or why. It's completely fuzzy for him. And I understand that because I've been there. I have in mind to try to get him on board with this plan because it'll just make everything more clear.
I think so many business owners take money out of their business without even realizing that they're taking money out of their business. There could be a little bit of loose boundaries between their personal bank account and their business bank account.
Oh, 100%.
Right. So it could be he is getting paid from his business. He's just not thinking that he's getting paid from his business.
He's getting paid, but because everything is so murky and gray and he doesn't really see those numbers every month, he thinks, oh, well, here I took $600 and there I took $700 and it can't be that much. It doesn't add up to that much, but you know what? It does add up.
It really, really adds up. And if he has a car that he's charging to the business as a business expense, like that's also an expense that you don't have to have in your personal budget. So we have to also remember that there are a lot of perks that we have as business owners that if we weren't owning a business, we would have to fund it some other way. And seeing the numbers is just like, I don't know, like the sun is shining, right? Yes. All of a sudden, like the colors in the sky look different. They're not murky and gray. Now there's like bright blues and bright yellows and the trees are greener.
Yes. No, I would tell that to anybody who, like me, was scared to look at their numbers, scared to face the reality. It's going to be hard to get over that hump. But once you're over it, wow, it's such a feeling of freedom. Like, okay, my numbers aren't quite where I want them to be, but that's okay. Now I can get them and work towards getting them where I want them to be because I understand where they're at.
How are you going to make decisions going forward for how you are going to hire? Like, are you just going to now start working with worksheets, or you're implementing Profit First with QuickBooks? How are you doing that with your tech?
Again, I'm still learning Profit First, so I'm not 100% clear on everything I need to do. I can tell you something interesting, which kind of was the opposite of what he talks about in his book, which is that my expenses are actually lower than the percentage that he allots.
Okay. You're a remote business.
I'm remote. I don't have tons of overhead. I have about $1,000 a month in just software and online programs that we use to make our business easy, work more smoothly. So the main growth for me is going to be getting more clients, because those expenses aren't really going to change per se. The only expenses that will change is my subcontractors maybe needing more hours in order to fulfill the work time that's needed. And then that will help put me over the hump on my salary being what it should be.
So you have a goal in mind for your salary.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I take a salary, but we all want more salary.
Sure. Where do you see your business going in the next 2 to 3 years?
I definitely want it to grow. I have income goals for the business and for myself. I love the fact that my contractors are all immigrants to Israel, as I am. And they are just lovely, lovely, experienced, smart women who I want to give more hours to, and I want to be able to give them as many hours as they would like to have. So I feel a responsibility, and I also feel really good about helping to support other families besides my own. So I am working towards reaching those income goals for all of us.
I love that. And all of your employees are freelancers that are working for you.
Correct.
So just like when you're talking about one of your clients hiring a remote assistant, so they're not paying the social benefits and they're not worrying about the healthcare and medical care and everything that you have to give to your employees in-house, it works the same way for you.
Correct.
Do you ever see yourself changing that model?
I don't know. I haven't thought about it. I had originally a dream of perhaps buying a home in Israel and actually having a basement where women could come and work in person. They would be working for my clients remotely, but they would actually be working in person in my place. But on the other hand, all the people that I've hired now don't live close enough to come in person, and that would be a real burden on them. Mm-hmm. They love the fact that they're working from home. So, I may have to just take my own advice that I give to my clients, which is it's okay to have remote workers, so they have that benefit too.
Right. There is a benefit for working in a hub. There's just that energy. And especially as moms of large families, right? The laundry is always calling us. The food is always calling us. And sometimes it is challenging to stay focused in our business during business hours. But yeah, the world is going, different ways. I actually think that one beautiful thing that COVID gave us was the realization that a woman can work from home. She can sort out her own schedule. She can be extremely productive and valuable to her clients, to her company, wherever she's working. And she can be very valuable to her family and not have to have the drain and the time suck of traveling.
Yeah, 100%. So true.
And I just think it's so beneficial. And I think that society benefits. There are certain synergies of being in person, right, that you just mentioned, and that energy and whatever. But I think so much has opened up to us as women and women business owners because of COVID. There were other movements that have been in place for the last 50 or so years. But this is just another realization that we have so much to give and we're so valuable and we can be productive from home and not lose it on traveling that time. Let's go to yoga class for 45 minutes or an hour or, go work out instead of spending it in traffic.
Yeah. And Zoom has really revolutionized everything too, because I have regular Zooms with my contractors. Mm-hmm. And it kind of makes us feel the same way as I do with my clients, where we can really get on board with things when we're face to face. And face to face these days is Zoom, and that's okay.
That is okay. Fabulous. What final words do you have to share with my listeners today?
Well, I did want to tell you that, and I've told you this before, but I'm going to say it for your listeners, that the sessions that we have in the Wired for Money group coaching has not only opened up my heart and my mind to receiving money, but it also has really helped me with being more fearless to look inside of myself and just understand why I react to any situation. I think I told you this story, but I was in the grocery store the other day and I checked out and it was like an 800 shekel, bill. And I confidently pulled out my American Chase card to pay it, as I always do in that same store. And it was declined. And I knew there was enough money in the account without a problem. And I tried it a couple of times. It was declined again. And I tried all three of my different Chase cards and they were all declined. And then I tried my Schwab card. I was dying from embarrassment. And the clerk was sitting there watching me go through all this embarrassment. I finally found an Israeli card that worked. And I left the store red with embarrassment. And I came to the car. And as I was walking to my car to unload the grocery cart, I started thinking about it. Why was I so embarrassed? These things happen. I know the money was there. So there was clearly just a problem with probably their processor. And I was able to dive in just while I'm unloading the cart into the trunk of the car. I was just able to dive into my feelings and come to a conclusion that there really wasn't anything to be ashamed of. It was okay to feel a little bit uncomfortable at the time, but there was no reason to be ashamed.
Right.
And I've never done that before. I've just felt that embarrassment, not looked at it closely, not unpacked it, and tried to put it out of my mind. And this group coaching just gave me tools to be able to investigate it and then to be able to put it out of my mind comfortably and with love.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. And I'm also going to tell you that I also had a charge declined, not in the supermarket, but I did an online payment from my Schwab account to my credit card, and it was declined. And I also felt that like surge of energy, like in my body. And then I was like, oh, then it was like the dread, like, oh, now I have to go and deal with this. And it was my fault. I put the numbers into the system incorrectly. And so once I got it sorted out, everything went through. But yeah, even the credit card and the credit card machines, they also don't always work. Like you said, you knew the money was there, but sometimes we're just like so charged that we go into fight or flight and we want to fight it or we want to run away. There's like something that's happening. And when we can just slow down and take a deep breath, there's no reason to be ashamed. It's just a normal thing that happens to people all the time. But we feel like the whole world is staring at us and we just want to run away, or we want the ground to open up and swallow us so we don't have to feel this experience. So
I want to leave my entire cart full of groceries and leave and go home and crawl under my covers.
I've had clients who really have been in situations like that. They really did not have the money in the bank. And it is just your nervous system gets quite a shock and a jolt. I'm glad for you that you actually you got to the place where you found a different card and it worked. But I also want to normalize it for other people who are in debt and the cards get declined and it feels horrible inside your body. And we could just, take a deep breath, finish your stress cycle and get back to, remembering that this is a normal event that happens to so many people in the world and it can be sorted out. And invite that possibility into your life, your relationship with money can really change.
Somehow, and I'm not even sure what the connection is, but somehow going through your course has given me a much more fearless attitude towards facing life, facing the money, facing the financials of my business, facing things that just happen on a daily basis in my life. I tell myself, you're going to face this fearlessly. And I tell myself this over and over and over as things come up. And it's only been since I started this coaching. So it's affected all parts of my life. And I thank you for that.
Thank you so much for being with us today, Davii. And for all of my listeners, I just want to point out that since Davii joined the mastermind, she joined the June cohort. And if I remember correctly, she actually signed up in early enrollment at the end of May. And immediately it changed her mindset. It opened up possibilities about how much she could grow her business. As you heard in the interview, she grew her business from 2 employees to 6 employees just in the last 5 months. And then she grew her clientele from 8 clients to 20 clients in that same period. When you commit to your business growth and for unblocking those limiting beliefs about money and really doing some deep nervous system healing and rewiring and reprogramming, everything else in your business becomes easier because money is the thing that stops us from showing up more visibly, asking for money, becoming that safe, sacred container for receiving money, and taking care of the money mechanics and managing our money better for our business growth and our long-term wealth. I look forward to seeing you in the Wired for Wealth Mastermind. Go to my sales page now, debbiesasson.com/wired-wealth. Check out all the details and sign up for a consultation. I look forward to seeing you there. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to Mastering Money in Midlife. If you want more information on Davii Sasson or the resources from the podcast, visit masteringmoneyinmidlife.com.